Dear students, today I am going to discuss about the factors modifying drug action. It is an important. I am myself Dr. Ghulam Ahmed Lone, Associate Professor of Pharmacology. This is one of the best, I would say, lectures which I am going to tell you. And we have so many factors, and the drug action is dependent on physiological factors, pathological factors that we call as the disease, genetic factors, environmental factors, interaction with other drugs. These are the factors by which the drug action and the drug kinetics or dynamics is affected. So the kinetics means absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, and also drug receptors are being, I would say, the factors which are very important, and drug-drug interaction is also one of the, I would say, factors on which the drug action depends upon. Now, physiological factors we have to enumerate it as age, sex, pregnancy, body weight, lactation, food. Physiological factors among us, the first one is the age. We talk the case of the about the newborn. When the newborn and the drug development, they are being, I mean, say, these newborns are being excluded. So that's why whenever the drug comes into being, we have to take the, I mean, say, this into consideration. So in newborn, we have decrease of gastric acid secretion, and we have decrease of liver microsomal enzymes, particularly the glucuronide transferase, which is very important enzyme in this GLUT we call them, and that's why this is not developed in the neonate. So we have to not give those drugs which are being metabolized by this synthetic pathway that's called the glucuronide transferase. So that's why also there's a physiological jaundice, and the bilirubin is not excreted easily from the newborn, and there is a decrease of plasma protein binding. So when we give the drug is, I would say, unbound for more, and then availability at the receptor site or through the membranes is more, and decrease in GFR and tubular secretion. So that this elimination is, I would say, not it is decreased, means elimination is not those drugs which are being, I would say, secreted through the kidneys, or there's through GFR they are being eliminated through the kidneys. So we have to decrease the dose. Immaturity of the blood-brain barrier in neonates. So those drugs which are easily, I would say, entering the blood-brain barrier, we have to take the, I would say, very much care about those drugs. And then also the GIT absorption of ampicillin and amoxicillin is greater in neonates due to the decreased gastric acidity. So absorption of ampicillin, amoxicillin, for the best drugs, these drugs are being given in the neonates. Chlorophenicol gray baby syndrome, inadequate of glucuronidation that I have already mentioned, and chlorophenicol with drug emulation. So whenever we give those drugs which are being eliminated, I would say, which are being metabolized through the glucuronidation, we have to use such drugs. And sulfonamides, hyperbilirubinemia and carnatics. So this also, because this is a drug-drug interaction, when we which have an interaction, I would say, with the bilirubin and hyperbilirubinemia, so we have not to give these drugs. And children in tetracycline, permanent teeth scanning. So in the development, the tetracycline should not be given. Corticosteroids also growth and development retardation, we don't give in the neonates and the children. Antihistamines is hyperactivity. When you give the antihistamines, this activity, so that is why you give the Phenergan to the neonate, they are being, I would say, sedated more, and this hyperactivity is there. So they are, I would say, more responsive in the neonates. And old age, the liver function, it is diazepam, theophylline, liver function is decreased. So we have to decrease the diazepam dose or the theophylline dose, because the liver enzymes are being, liver function test is being hampered in the old age. And also in the old age we have kidney function like gentamicin, digoxin, penicillin are contraindicated in old age. So because they have to something to do with the kidney function test. So kidney function test in the old age is very important once you give the drug therapy to the patient. And also decreased plasma protein binding. So unbound is more, so there is a brisk response of the drug which has got the protein binding maximum. And increased sensitivity to CNS depressants like we have diazepam, morphine. They are more sensitized in the, I would say, old age, and because they have got the more sensitivity to the to these drugs in the elderly patients. Then sex, number 2, testosterone increase the rate of biotransmission of drugs. So it is increase the rate of biotransmission when we talk about this, I would say, testosterone. It increase the rate of biotransmission of drugs. So when the testosterone is given, I would say other drugs, so this increases the rate of biotransmission of drugs. Decrease metabolism of some drugs in females. So diazepam we have, it decreases the metabolism of some drugs in females. So females are more susceptible to autonomic drugs like estrogen inhibits choline esterase. So these drugs we have to, I would say, be cautious about administration. So pregnancy. During pregnancy, there is a more cardiac output, there is a more GFR and renal elimination of drugs, there is a more volume of distribution, there is a more metabolic rate of some drugs. So lipophilic drugs cross placental barrier and slowly excreted. So we have to, these drugs we have to take into consideration, and because this is the physiological change, pregnancy is a physiological change, so the cardiovascular system is changed, kidney is changed, so there is a volume of distribution is changed, and metabolic rate of some drugs are being changed. So lipophilic drugs as such, they cross placental barrier and are slowly excreted in case of, I would say, pregnancy. So we have also the pathological factors. I would say disease causes individual variation in drug response. So decreased plasma protein binding for warfarin, tolbutamide, so adverse effects are there. So when we have a decrease of plasma protein binding, the pathological status, for warfarin and tolbutamide, there is adverse effects of that drug. So warfarin also and tolbutamide, these two drugs, when we give together, their adverse effect is pronounced. Because you know the when the plasma protein binding is decreased, so unbound warfarin is more. So when because 99% is this plasma protein bind to warfarin. So warfarin will be 2%. It will be unbound. It will be a brisk response. So there will be a, I would say, bleeding, I would say, disorder. And also the INR, you know, we have to optimize the warfarin therapy by estimating the INR. So INR has a narrow therapeutic index. Decreased hepatic blood flow, there is also increased clearance of the morphine and propranolol. So morphine and propranolol, they are depending on the hepatic blood flow. So when the pathological status, there is a decreased blood flow, where there is a decrease of the clearance of the morphine propranolol. So we have to decrease the dose of these two drugs, particularly morphine and propranolol. They are dependent on hepatic blood flow. And impaired liver microsomal enzymes, diazepam, rifampicin, theophylline, there is a impairment of the microsomal enzymes when there is a pathological state change. So diazepam, rifampicin and theophylline, we have to decrease the dose. So renal disease also, when there is a decrease of GFR, decrease of tubular secretion, decrease of plasma albumin, so decrease of excretion of digoxin, lithium, gentamicin, penicillin. So these drugs we have to take care of. So once you give the digoxin, lithium and gentamicin, penicillin, so we have to decrease the dose, because penicillin are being excreted through kidney in the one go. That's why their half-life is, I would say, less. When you give also this digoxin and lithium together, and the digoxin level will be increased, because the lithium will be, I would say, decreased. So gentamicin also, they are dependent. These drugs, they are wholly and solely, I would say, excreted through kidneys. So we have to have the assessment of these parameters in renal diseases. So malnutrition also, there is the plasma protein binding of the drugs is decreased, amount of the microsomal enzymes is decreased, and increased portion of the free unbound drug and warfarin you take the case of. So there's a free drug is increased, because the free drug goes to the, I would say, membranes, and they reach the target site easily. So warfarin is a drug which we have to take in the malnutrition, because at that moment we have to decrease the, I would say, drug dose. So genetic factors also there. Genetic polymorphism we have to deal with, because the pharmacogenomics is now a new subject, new entity. We have to, I would say, go through this, because the drugs are being metabolized through the enzyme, and this enzyme system is, you know, dependent on the CYPs, and the existence in a population of two or more phenotype with respect to the effect of the drug. So if we take the case of the acetylation enzyme deficiency, acetyltransferase, like we have the sulfonamides, like with the, some drugs like we have the INH, they are being metabolized through the acetylation. Once there is a acetyltransferase, so we have to see in a population, is there more acetylation or slow acetylation or fast acetylation. Accordingly, we have to give the dose. That's why the fast acelerators, we have to increase the INH. So in a population, we have to assess the polymorphism, genetic polymorphism. We have to estimate it. It is a new concept. And SHIP, like we have sulfonamides, hydrolazine, procanamide, and metabolized by acetylation. So this is called the SHIP. SHIP means S for sulfonamide, H for hydrolazine, I for isoniazid, and P for procanamide. They are being metabolized by the acetylation. We have to remember these things. And these things we have to, when there is a slow acetylation, that means it will be saturated with the same dose is given. And slow acylator type is peripheral neuropathy is there. This is an adverse drug reaction. If there is a saturation, slow acylators, and there is a peripheral neuropathy. Rapid accelerators, there is a decrease of the effect. So the drug will be under therapeutic. And slow accelerators, we have it will be above therapeutic range, and it will be peripheral neuropathy. So this pharmacogenomics tells us about this kind of system in the body. Then we have a pseudocholinesterase deficiency, like succinylcholine and skeletal muscle relaxant. Succinylcholine, there is apnea due to the paralysis of the respiratory muscle. So in the slow, pseudocholinesterase deficiency is there, so the drug will remain there for a longer time, and we have to see that this is apnea due to the paralysis of the respiratory muscle. So this is also one of the, genetically controlled drug metabolism. And malignant hyperthermia is there by succinylcholine you give due to the inherited inability to chelate calcium and sarcoplasmic reticulum. So when there is a calcium release muscle spasm, there will be increase of temperature. So this is called the malignant hyperthermia. So this is also because of that metabolic, when there is a slow cholinesterase is there, pseudocholinesterase is there. Also deficiency of the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase G6PD, deficiency in RBCs. There is a hemolytic anemia upon exposure to some oxidizing drugs, like we have to take the case of the anti-malarial drugs, primaquine, long-acting sulfonamides. When there is a G6PD, and there is a hemolytic anemia, because there is not a G6PD is also the pharmacogenomics. It is not that due to the drug, it is the deficiency of the RBCs. This hemolytic anemia takes place. And also the environmental factors, we have microbial enzyme disorders like tobacco, and smokers metabolize drugs more rapidly than non-smokers. There is an example, suppose if you give the anesthesia to tobacco smoke person, and it will metabolize, there will be induction of the drug, and we have to give the more drug to these patients. And that's why tobacco also makes a change in the metabolism. There's an induction of this thing in like these drugs we have to take care of. And then adverse drug effects were undesirable or harmful effects which can occur at therapeutic doses and need a reduction of the dose or drug withdrawal. So nausea and vomiting is the adverse deafness with gentamicin, death with penicillin. So this we have to take this into consideration. We have to decrease the dose, and while withdrawal, undesirable, these harmful effects which can occur at therapeutic dose and need a reduction of dose or drug withdrawal. So these are the minor adverse therapeutic effects, and we have to withdraw the drug, because in the old age gentamicin dose should be reduced, and same is the case with the penicillin also. And types of that adverse drug reactions, we have A, B, C, D, and like we have, and the first case type of reaction, excessive therapeutic effect, and side effect is occurring when we give the drugs. These are the predictable. I mean say type 1 is predictable. It is because of the mechanism of action. Like we give a sedative, there is a sedation, or we give some drug which is we increase the dose and the side effects occurs. Like we take the antiatropine type of reactions, we have to decrease the dose. So excessive therapeutic effect is because of the mechanism of action of the drug, we know it. And type 2 is a common 75 is all adverse reactions related to pharmacological actions, dose dependent. It is due to the predictability of the drug action can be avoided by adjusting the dose regime. So we can decrease the dose. Most of them are reversible upon stopping drug. That is hypotension, antihypertensive drug can be decreased, because then if there's more dose and there's a more brisk response, so we have to decrease the dose. Hypoglycemia, insulin. Suppose insulin, there's a more hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is also disease. It's a symptom. Then a person can die. So we have to decrease the dose of the insulin. So this is exaggeration of the dose. We have to slow the dose. And at the time, type 1 reaction, we have excessive therapeutic effect, unwanted effects related to the main pharmacological action of the drug that occur when the drug produces greater therapeutic effect than necessary. Just take the case of warfarin, anticoagulant, there is bleeding, and we have to decrease the dose. Take the case of insulin, normoglycemia, and hypoglycemia. If there is more hypoglycemia, we have to titrate accordingly. We have to decrease the dose at that point of time. And then side effects, unwanted effects, unrelated to the main pharmacological action of the drug, but due to other normal actions of the drug. Like side effects is, it has to do its own action, and in addition to its own action, it has other side effects. It has other actions. Like morphine we give, there is a constipation during its use as analgesic. So morphine we give for other pain killer, and constipation is its side effect, and it is due to when we use that as analgesia. So we have side effect, we call it. It is not an adverse. Type B reactions are bizarre reactions, not related to the normal pharmacological action of the drug, unpredictable, not dose related, occur only in minority of the patients. It is not all. It is not a universal, type B. In some cases it occurs. Like type we have allergic reactions, is hypersensitivity, and genetic disorders is idiosyncrasy. So these reactions you have to be, well versed with, and this is not happening to all. It is dose related, and it is not dose related, and dose related is type first. So we have to, it is minor. Some patients can have such responses. And type B, hypersensitive, we have allergic reactions, abnormal response to the drug due to the antigen antibody reaction, that is penicillin. Allergic reaction to a drug, rash we have, hypotension we have, and bronchospasm we have. It is anaphylactic reaction. So at that moment of time, we should handle the situation in the emergency. The patient, it is an emergency. We have to give another drug, and that I have already talked to you. That's for the physiological antagonism. This is the anaphylaxis shock. At that moment, we have to give the adrenaline, because there is a more acetylcholine, more histamine, and due to more histamine release, there is a anaphylactic shock and angioedema. We have to, it is an emergency. At that moment, you should know how to handle the patient. So type of allergic reaction, we have type 1, immediate acute hypersensitivity anaphylactic due to the IgE. Type 2 is reaction, it is a cytotoxic reaction, it damage of the cells, that is hemolytic anemia due to the methyl dopa or penicillin. You have to remember these, reactions in the drug therapy. And type 3, we have immune complex mediated antigen antibody reaction to make immune complex which is engulfed by leukocytes and initiate inflammatory process, that is serum sickness, nephrotoxicity, nephropathy, and vasculitis. So this is immune complex is formed. Type 4 is delayed hypersensitivity, cell mediated, occurs 2 to 3 days after exposure. So after you have given the drug, after 2 to 3 days, these are being accentuated, and due to the exposure to antigen T lymphocytes are involved, that is contact dermatitis, urticaria, rash, and fever. So these four types, type 1 is due to the IgE, type 2 is because of the reaction of the cytotoxic reactions because of the IgG or IgM. Type 3 is immune complex mediated, that is antigen antibody reaction to make immune complex which is engulfed by the leukocytes and initiate inflammatory response. You have to know these serum. Then there is a serum sickness, there is a nephropathy and vasculitis. Type 4 it is after 2 to 3 days. It is time dependent. You have to it is to be related with the time. Type 1 is immediate. And then we have type B, idiosyncrasy, is abnormal response. I have already told you to the due to the genetic disorders like succinyl-choline apnea, malignant hyperthermia, and porphyria. These are the type B, idiosyncrasy reactions. And then we have secondary effects, unwanted effects that occur secondary to the wanted actions of the drug. Overgrowth of the microorganism following use of broad spectrum antibiotics, that is pseudomembranous colitis. So it is due to the microflora is changed on the body in the GIT, and then another infection takes place. So microorganisms are very important in our body. So once there is an overgrowth of microorganisms, our microorganisms they get washed out by the antibiotic. So there is another infection, pseudomembranous colitis. And then type C reactions, we have continuous reaction due to long-term use, that is NSAIDs, analgesic, there is a nephropathy. So NSAIDs we have not to prescribe for a longer time. There is the analgesic nephropathy that takes place in the body. And then we have type D reaction, delayed adverse, like teratogenesis, a drug. Once it is continuously used in animal studies, there is a teratogenicity that we have to give to the pregnant, animals for a longer time. We have to see if there is any congenital formation. So teratogenesis is a congenital malformation occurring in the fetus due to the exposure to drugs during pregnancy. Like we have thalidomide, phocomelia. It has been worked out in 1960 when phocomelia has taken place. Then we have a goal to see this teratogenicity in the at that moment of time. In the rabbits there was a pseudophocomelia, and then from that day onwards we have to do the testing very importantly in the preclinical, in the animals. So teratogenicity is a very important. Then we have carcinogenicity, carcinogenesis, ability of some substance to induce cancer. Like we have stilbestrol, it is a control, it produces adenocarcinoma of the vagina in female of offspring. So we have to have these concepts clear. Once a pharmacologist knows about this teratogenicity and carcinogenicity and what are the drugs which are producing, and we have to take the, we have not used them for a longer time. In teratogenicity, we have to see if it goes in the first trimester through the placenta. And then we have mechanism why it is because of DNA alteration. Rhizoflavin and alkylating cytotoxic. DNA alteration takes place because of these agents. Then we have immunosuppressants. Immunosuppressant increase incidence of the cancer, that is organ transplantation and rheumatic arthritis. So we have not to use these immunosuppressants for a longer time. Then we have hormonal drugs and long-term use of the estrogen replacement in PMW-induced endometrial cancer. Also this, the hormonal therapy for a longer time is also not good to, handle with. So this is very important tool to, to see such cases in the, drug therapy. So type E reaction, ending of drug, sudden discontinuation, abrupt withdrawal, rebound adrenal insufficiency. So corticosteroids, once you use it for a long time, you have not to withdraw it. Because there is a sudden discontinuation, if it does, there is another problem. That's called abrupt withdrawal. And then antihypertensive, antiepileptics. This is the example where this, you cannot use the beta blocker. You can use the beta blockers, propranolol for a long time because the blood pressure is decreased. Once you discontinue the beta blocker or propranolol, there's the abrupt antihypertensive effect. Not there, so there's a blood pressure and there's a precipitation of the angina like that. Then anti-epileptic also. Like you use the phenytoin for a long time, you discontinue it, there's a withdrawal syndrome. So this is we have to take into consideration. Then we have treatment of the drug allergy. The offending drug must be immediately stopped. Most mild reactions like skin rashes subside by themselves and do not require specific. So you have to see the extent, which extent you use. If there is antihistamine or beneficial in some type of one reactions, urticaria, rhinitis, swelling of the lips, and some skin rash. So you have to give the type 1 we have to use the drugs like antihistamine. And then treatment of drug allergy in case of the anaphylactic shock, it is an emergency, or angioedema of larynx. The Resuscitation Council of UK has recommended the following measures: put the patient in a reclining position, administer oxygen at high flow rate, and perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation if required. So this is the, I would say, the this UK has recommended. And then inject adrenaline 0.5. So there is a histamine mode, and we give the adrenaline. This is called the physiological antagonism. Because histamine is angioedema, which is inherent there is the IgE liberation, and then you give the adrenaline 0.5 milligram, 0.5 ml of 1 into 1000 solution. You have to dilute it intramuscular. You have to give. Repeat every 5 to 10 minutes in case of patient does not improve or improvement is transient. This is the only life-saving measure which we have to take into consideration. So treatment of drug allergy is adrenaline, should be injected IV, can itself be fatal unless shock is immediately life-threatening. So it is also fatal. So if adrenaline is to be injected IV, it should be diluted to 1:10,000 or 1:1 lakh and infused slowly with constant monitoring. Administer one antihistamine like chlorpheniramine 10 to 20 milligram IM slow IV. It may have adjuvant value. So we can give chlorpheniramine also as an adjuvant. So treatment of drug allergy, I am just taking this therapeutic armamentarium of this. Intravenous glucocorticosteroids also you give hydrocortisone sodium succinate 100 to 200 milligram should be added in severe and recurrent cases. So this is also physiological antagonism. We have to give the 100 to 200 milligram. Then intravenous glucocorticosteroids act slowly but is specifically valuable for prolonged reaction and asthmatics. So it is action is prolonged, and in asthmatics we can give this type of intravenous glucocorticosteroids. Glucocorticosteroids are the only drug effective in type 2, type 3 and type 4 reactions, not type 1. So glucocorticosteroids, we have to think about these things. And then we have a photosensitivity. It is a cutaneous reaction resulting from drug-induced sensitization of the skin into IV radiation. So phototox, what it is? Due to its metabolite accumulation in the skin, absorb light from the atmosphere and undergoes a photochemical reaction resulting in local tissue damage. That's called a sunburn light or erythema, edema, and blistering followed by the hyperpigmentation and disquamation. So this is the phototoxicity. The shorter wavelength we have 290 to 320 ultraviolet B are responsible for this photosensitivity. Drugs involved in acute phototoxic reactions are tetracycline, especially dimethylcycline and tar products. So this is the photosensitivity which takes place. I would say you have to be vigilant about this thing. So photosensitivity, we have to discuss the photoallergy. It is given in the Tripathi. Drugs or its metabolite induce a cell-mediated immune response. So that was not a cell-mediated, this is a cell-mediated drug allergy, which can exposure to light of longer wavelength. There was a shorter range, longer wavelength 320 to 400 nanometers ultraviolet A, produce a papular or contact dermatitis like picture. Drug involved are sulfonamides, we have such, and sulfonamide ureas, grisoflavin, chloroquine, chlorpromazine. This is due to the photoallergy, which you should know about these things. And now drug dependence, this is psychological dependence, physical dependence, drug abuse. This can be taken in the another lecture, and this was all about the factors affecting how you have to handle, what are the factors which are responsible, and what are the drugs which give adverse drug reactions, side effects. The concept should be clear, and you have to have such lectures, very important for the benefit of the patient and for the benefit of the student. Thank you very much for listening.